Okay, hello again, everyone. I apologize. I just realized when I listened to my playback, there's a couple things that I forgot to mention when I was talking to you that I said I would get to, and I didn't realize I get into my little rambles, and sorry about that. But excuse me. But the connection of the UN and what I was talking about with Israel. Recall that the UN is a institution that represents the entire world. There was a gentleman, a preacher, I can't remember his name, so you can find it up on YouTube, that talked about that when after the rapture takes place, in his vision, that people with blue helmets would start to take over and become our army. Well, one of the things that you notice that's been happening in the news lately is a lot of the accusations against the UN soldiers for conducting an immoral way, and a lot of these FEMA camps and whatnot that are being set up. And what a lot of people fail to understand is that this is going to be helping with the New World Order. Now, getting back to New York, and remember I mentioned to you that we had 9/11 that happened there, and on the very same spot it talks about that's where George Washington was inaugurated, that's where the nuclear bomb was created, and all that, and this is where Donald Trump is from. So it kind of puts everything into perspective that our first city has had one of the worst disasters in American history. Was the same place where our first president was inaugurated. Um, was the same place where the most recent president was. Like I told you, God starts things where he ends things where he starts. Well, it started with New York, he ends it with New York. So when you're looking at what's going on with the United States and what's happening with our world, the reason why people might have thought it would have been Hillary Clinton is because, she was a senator of New York, but she wasn't born in New York. Okay? Trump was. And so that makes him the perfect candidate to fit what God's trying to do, and also to put the deception into play. Sorry, a long week. So what we can look forward to is kind of like what played out in the movie Left Behind, and it's kind of ironic that Tim LaHaye died at the same time Trump was elected. And it talked about where the Antichrist would take over the UN in that movie and in that book. And funny part about it is the UN is the only entity that can go in to various locations, and once people see that blue helmet, they kind of sound like waving the white flag of peace or whatever you want to call it, or they see them as the saviors of whatever's coming when they show up. And so we're seeing that, I talked about we look at peace and security, now look for destruction. With the Palestinian agreement and what's going on with Trump going overseas and visiting the various different religions and whatnot, we're seeing this beginning to play out. And this is where God's anger is going to be kindled, because we're focusing on the wrong things. We're worried about ourselves, and we're thinking about our souls. And so what we can expect to come is going to be a shaking of our souls, because we as human beings need to realize it's our souls that matter to God the most. Because like I always tell people, you're going to be dead longer than you're alive. Eternity is a lot longer than how many every years you get on earth. For some people they don't even make it past their first month. other people they live to 140 or 120, whatever you want to call it. But that's not to God. That time frame is a blink of your lifespan on this planet, and your eternity is the most important because where you spend it matters to God and Yeshua. It also matters to Satan because in his mind he knows he's defeated in the end. So he wants your eternity to be with him. And so if you continue to be deceived and you continue to live the lie and being of this world and focusing on the things that are of this world, not of God, then at that point you become, no longer a child of God, but a child of Satan. And so essentially, our politicians are playing into that role. I think it's very sad that we have put so many people on pedestals to where now that just to even interact with them requires permission. The one thing that when Jesus Christ walked this earth is you could come to him, and he never said you couldn't. Hey, I'm not seeing anybody today. You never heard him say that. He never said, hey, I'm busy. I don't want to see visitors. I'm not seeking visitors today. He came to those. I mean, yeah, he didn't. He didn't. He wasn't around crowds. He wasn't around that. But he never hindered people. And as a society, this is what we've become. People will break their neck to go see a singer, or people will, people will sit there, stand in line for hours to get a ticket just to watch this movie. People will, do whatever it takes to get whatever is the next best thing, like an iPhone or whatever, but they won't crack a Bible open. And that's the sad part about it is that all the scripture says all of these things are going to pass away. There's not going to be any more concerts. There's not going to be any more iPhones. There's not going to be any more computers. There's not going to be any more TV and all these different things that we like to make significant in our lives. These expensive cars and here again, just to kind of back to the deception. Our government talks about how they're for improving the climate, improving our planet, but yet they make it to where the things that help do it are the most expensive to have. Wait a minute. You want a car that doesn't pollute, but you make it out of reach of people that can afford it. You want homes that are friendly to the environment, but they cost you more than anybody could ever afford in their lifetime. It's these different things where they say, yeah, we're all for this, we're all for that, but yet they make it cheaper for the things that are destroying the planet and more expensive for the things that are helping it. And it's like, well, I don't get that. How can you sit there and say that you're helping us change the world when we can't even afford it? And that's the thing that it's just kind of like when we talk about health. People always say, well, the food that's no good for you is the cheapest, but the food that's good for you is the most expensive. Why is that? Because the intention is this: it's all about a deception. It's about, we are not really helping humanity. We're preparing ourselves for the rule of Satan. And unfortunately, they're not going to tell you that, but that's exactly where we're headed. So, that's why I'm hoping that you'll wake up and realize that we are there. The time is coming. It's going to be very bad for many people. The tribulation is going to be, we're seeing some tribulation now, but We ain't seen nothing yet. And, we just got to make sure that we realize that we focus more on Christ because, like I said, to make this new world government work, people have to demand it. And the only way to make people demand this new world government is to make it feel like the government has failed them to the point of devastation. And that's what's going to be spun when all this stuff goes down. Anyway, love everyone and take care and God bless and look to the sky for a redeemer.